All right, guys, I am back with a brand new Rebel Moon update. And I'm hoping you guys are enjoying this film as much as I did. And I will say the first time I saw it, I saw some issues with it. But after seeing it a second and a third time, and I will be seeing it a fourth with my wife here pretty soon, most of those things that I had issues with have gone away, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that at the end. And I'm going to talk about how some of these other channels are unfairly judging it on some merits that it doesn't deserve. And I'm going to be talking about that at the end of the video. But let's take a look at some of the photos that I have grabbed in regards to Rebel Moon since my last update late last week. So first up here, I actually saw the interview with Zack Snyder talking about this. But Zack Snyder on the director's cut of Rebel Moon. I'm working on part 2 now, which comes out April 19th. At the same time, we're working on the 2 director's cuts. Those will happen right after The Scargiver. We don't have a hard date yet. We're looking at an event to position the release of the extended cuts around, and he talks about it being sometime in the summer. July's Comic-Con was suggested on the stream, but otherwise it is looking like a summer 2024 release. So we're going to get the 2 regular cuts, and I could have sworn before that they had mentioned that extended version of Rebel Moon would come out before part 2, but it does not look like that is going to happen. It looks like we're going to be able to watch it and he's talking about them releasing at the exact same date so that you can watch it as one big saga, like this 3 to 7 hour story, which I think would be awesome. So that's the first bit of news that we had come out of Rebel Moon. Now, this is pretty cool. I am not an Xbox player. I am a Sony PlayStation guy through and through. Now much more a Steam person as well. I never used to be Steam until I got the Steam Deck. But Zack Snyder posted this, and this is pretty cool. It said, check out this custom Xbox inspired by the Jimmy Robot from Rebel Moon. If you'd like a chance to get your hands on this one-of-a-kind console, go to Xbox's X profile for the details. Be sure to watch Rebel Moon now, streaming on Netflix. That is, I'm not going to lie, that's pretty freaking awesome. So here are some possible differences between the director's cut and the PG-13 cut of Rebel Moon. The director's cut of Rebel Moon will be released before Part 2 premieres on April 19th, which we know is not going to happen. The version also includes a brand new opening that focuses on Noble. Now, there's rumors, and I don't know how people would know this yet, that the extended version of the first movie is going to be an hour longer than the first. I think it could be more than that. If Zack Snyder is working on it right now, there's no way to know how long that version is going to be. So this is all just tentative stuff that people have thrown out there. Now, this is a pretty cool post. I posted this on my DC update as well, but it says, even as Rebel Moon is dominating Netflix, Zack Snyder is still out here showing love for sell Snyderverse to Netflix. And he's going to. He's still interested in doing it. The studio, Netflix itself is interested in doing it. It's a matter of Warner Brothers playing ball and allowing them to do it. So there was an article that came out, and it says Zack Snyder's co-writer Kurt Johnstad offers an honest response to the negative reviews plaguing Netflix's Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire. And this is very interesting. We're going to look at the bullet points for this, not the whole article. It says here that critics have given Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon negative reviews, but co-writer Kurt Johnston believes that reviews don't necessarily reflect a movie's performance or its emotional core, which is 100% true. Despite the low ratings on Rotten Tomatoes, which is a sham, the audience ratings for the first chapter of Rebel Moon is currently at 71%. Which you cannot rate Rotten Tomatoes at all. I'm sorry, the whole thing's a sham, both sides. Suggesting that there are viewers who have enjoyed the film. Snyder's previous movies, including those in the DC Extended Universe, have also seen a divide between critical and audience ratings, indicating that poor reviews don't always mean poor performance. And here's something also to consider about this. For all these negative people out there, it means they've watched it. It means other people have watched it. And a lot of these are hardcore, I hate Zack Snyder people, meaning they're still going to check out his stuff, still streaming it, which helps the numbers. So tell me who's more believable in this situation. It's just crazy. And we're going to look at some of the streaming numbers that Netflix has offered up. It's been out for about a half a week now, and we're going to see what the streaming numbers are on it in such a short time. And I thought this sums it up, which I think is awesome, and this goes to the sentiment I just made here. from this point, someone said from this point forward, I'm responding to the haters the way Scott Stuber would over at Netflix. Thank you for your contribution, and I look forward to you watching Rebel Moon Part 2 on Netflix. And that's the truth. These people who hate it say they're still going to watch Part 2, even though they say they didn't like Part 1. This is what Zack Snyder says in regards to his 3+ hour R-rated cut of Rebel Moon. Way more brutal, more bizarre, Verhoeven-esque, more RoboCop than you know, in the way that it uses violence as another character. And there's a lot of sex in it and sci-fi fantasy. Now, the sex I could do without. I don't think it needs to be in there. The other stuff I'm interested in, though, and we'll see how that movie ends up when it gets released. Now, I'm going to show you guys something here that I actually put together myself. This is something I posted on YouTube as a short, plus on Twitter. And I said, this is this is what the viewership on Netflix is actually doing to those biased negative reviews that were published early by some people who didn't even see the film. But here's this little 10-second clip that I actually edited and put together. All right, so I just figured I'd share that here on this update. I had fun cutting that together to be able to post. Now, I'm happy to hear that Ray Fisher teases deeper character development and wild battles in the fast-approaching sequel movie Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver. He's the one that I was most disappointed with in the first film because we heard how awesome he was. We know that they were searching for him and his sister, and I hope his sister shows up in Part 2 to help. It would be awesome if their fleet showed up. But he was barely in it, and you didn't really have any emotional connection to his character dying at the end, but there's some suggestion that maybe he's not dead and we will see him alive to help fight in the second movie, but we'll see. So Zack Snyder said that Rebel Moon 2 is basically a war movie. And I loved the Zack Snyder yesterday posted a new, longer version of Rebel Moon, the Rebel Moon 2 trailer, and at the end it shows both Noble and her actually exchanging words when he comes back, and he's basically saying, what do you plan on trying to make out all this? She goes, I'm going to do what I did the first time. I kill you. And I thought that was a brilliant line. And it looks like she's got her hair cut back, so they know exactly who she is. So this is pretty crazy, and I'm wondering if there's any proof of this out there. But it says, Rotten Tomatoes exposed. For over 5 years, a PR firm manipulated movie scores by paying critics. A new report has surfaced that critics from Rotten Tomatoes gave a review for Rebel Moon without actually seeing the movie first, which I totally believe happened. If you read any of those reviews, some of them weren't about the film itself. It was about Zack Snyder and his fandom. Now, check this out. This is pretty awesome, and I can't even run through this entire list. But look at all of these places around the world where Rebel Moon was number 1 and number 2. That's a lot of different countries, people. Like, it is number 1 all over the world. It says it's number 1 on Netflix in 61 countries. But yeah, okay. This is why you don't make films for your critics. Make them for yourself and your fans. Freaking awesome. Here's the Netflix account on X or Twitter, where they have made their banner all about Rebel Moon, and they posted, all hail Zack Snyder. That's pretty awesome. So here are some streaming numbers for Rebel Moon. This is pretty crazy. So Rebel Moon Part 1, just December 18th through the 23rd, or 24th, and this didn't even get released that early. This didn't get even released until the 22nd. And so in just a few days, a couple of days, 2 days, it had over almost 24 million views in just a few days. And what's crazy about this is that I wish they would have released this in theaters. I really do. Because for all of these views, there were more than likely more than one person watching it, meaning those are potential tickets that could have been sold at the theater, and this could have made well over $100 million in just one weekend had it been released in theaters. That's a pretty crazy thought, and it's a shame that they didn't go that route to be able to release it in theaters. So Rebel Moon is performing like bonkers, extremely well on streaming. And you betcha Netflix is going to start releasing these numbers, and they're not going to hide them like HBO Max or some of these other companies. HBO Max has never given out their streaming numbers, which is insane. There's Samba and stuff like that, but it's not 100% accurate, and you guys could go do the research on that. There's no way to know that those numbers are hard numbers or true because these companies do not release their streaming numbers. Now, I want to talk about the hate that's coming out for this movie. I have never seen such blind hate for a movie, and I watched some reviews from Tyrone Magnus. He's the one that probably gave the most honest review, but I encourage him, if he's watching this by any chance, I encourage him to watch it again, because every time I watch this, I enjoy it more and more. And what's crazy about this is I watched the Nerdotics video on this the other day, and I was just flabbergasted at, he was just throwing out there how this is that formula that Hollywood's been using where the women are in power, the men are stupid or whatever, and it's all about woman power, woke stuff. And I'm going to put the pause button on this here for a second, because I could tell you I will call out that woke stuff in a heartbeat. Like, I have no problem. And to give you an example of this, when the last Terminator film came out, I almost walked out of the theater when they killed John Connor in the first 5 minutes. And that was one of the worst woke decisions that they've made in a film that I've seen that was so blatant, because the whole purpose of killing him off was to replace him with a Latino female protagonist to get rid of the white guy as the savior. When we've had this 35-year history with Terminator, and now they have to change it. All because that's what everybody thinks is the trend. And what's crazy about this is this is what bothers me, and you could totally tell when a studio does this or a movie does this. Those writers for that film went into the studio and into the writer's room and said, it wasn't about let's make a good story, it was how can we replace the white guy as the savior and replace him? Let's build a story around that instead of building a story that would encompass that. Don't change what already exists. Here's what Rebel Moon did. Rebel Moon is a brand new IP. These are new characters. It's a new world. This is how you do it right. And some people came out and actually called Cora's character a Mary Sue. What? What? You can't even make that argument, because this movie all revolved around Cora. This was Cora's story. And this is why we don't have a lot of time with the other characters, because this isn't the other character's story. Their time is coming up. This story was about Cora. And throughout the entire film, they gave you her backstory. They give you every reason as to why she is who she is. That part was done perfectly. No complaints at all in that arena. So those people that are just hating on it, they just want to jump on that bandwagon with everybody else to hate on it. This movie is not a bad movie at all. The more I see it, the more I like it, and the more impactful it is, especially that last action sequence at the end of the film. When you realize what those people are going through and what they had to deal with, it's pretty freaking awesome. It's a very satisfying ending. I just want to see more, and I cannot wait for part 2, and I cannot wait to see the extended cuts when they get released this summer. All right, so what do you guys think about all of this Rebel Moon news? There's a tongue twister for you. I will be back with more updates as more information comes out. I'll be covering Rebel Moon from here on out, as well as the DC stuff, and I think I'm going to be getting more into the Star Wars stuff as well. So there's going to be plenty of stuff to watch on my channel in addition to my TV show and movie reviews. I also plan on doing a video on my favorite 5 games that I played this year, and probably my top 10 films of 2023 as well. So you can look for those at some point this week too. I think I'm done at the theater for this year, and so I don't think there will be any more movies that get released. And I'm going to be going through the list and ranking everything, and I will do a video on what my rank is for the year. All right, guys, I do appreciate all the support. We will see you on the next update.